All right, let's talk about the need for boredom, because a full life already or only leaves room for what already fills it. And if there is something that you know that God has called you to do, and it is outside, even just a little bit, but it's outside of the life that you have lived up to this point, you need room to be bored. You need room to be uncomfortable, to refigure things out, to recalculate and say, well, do I want to do this thing? Even if it's an absolutely good thing, but do I want to do this good thing, or do I want to put my attention over here? If you do not allow yourself room to slow down and to rethink, you are going to live the life that you have lived up to this point, and always aware of what God has called you to do, but always looking at it like it's right there. Why is it not happening? And you're going to end up most likely blaming God or blaming other people, wondering why your kingdom work, your calling has not happened. When you're here, you're willing, you are totally motivated, but you're not able to actually do it. And the solution I want to present to you today is that boredom is the key. But before I talk more about that, if you are ready to take your kingdom work from the idea stage and start treating it like the kingdom assignment that it is, then download the Kingdom Calling Clarity Map in the description below, and I will help you do just that. Okay, what do I mean when I say that a full life only leaves room for what already fills that full life? It's a lot of fulls and fills. So what I mean is that, let's say, for example, that you are someone who volunteers for everything at church. And so you might go from volunteering in this one way to volunteering with, like other people have seen your skills and what you're able to do. And just that, like, you're the person to go to if they need a position filled. So they go and they ask you, like, okay, you've done all these other little things. Can you take over this really big position that we need filled? And so you might go from something smaller to a big thing, and yet so that can feel like, well, like, you do have room to do something else. But all of that, because it's a volunteer thing, it's still working within the bubble of what the rules of life that you know to live by. And what I'm talking about is that if someone is always volunteering and all that they know to do is to say yes to whatever request comes their way, then they are going to have a very hard time saying no to those things. Like, let's say that they're saying yes to all this stuff and their life is busy with volunteering, but they know that God has called them to start a ministry in their inner city. Okay, so they're doing all this great stuff at church, and I'm not saying that that's bad, like that's a bad thing to do. That's good, but let's say that they know that they are called to, like, they've gained all these skills from all these volunteer positions. Sorry, I keep saying this like 5 times now, but they know that they're called to start a ministry in the inner city, right? So they've, again, gained the skills, and God's given them everything that they need to do the work in starting this ministry in the inner city. Okay, sorry, that took like forever to get that out of my mouth. And yet, to do that work, they would have to start saying no to all of these volunteer positions that they have been in for possibly decades. And if they do not allow themselves, whoever this hypothetical person is, if you do not allow yourself the time and the space to slow down, to be bored, to rethink life, you are not just automatically going to say no to all this stuff and say yes to those specific things that you need to do. So if you keep on just living that busy and full life, it is going to, you are going to keep on doing those volunteer things. You're not just automatically going to, like, it does, saying no to what we've always known, to what we've always done, does not come easy. And again, if you want help with this, if you want to take your kingdom assignment and start treating it like an assignment and not just like a side thought, then download the Kingdom Calling Clarity Map. And I'm going to help you to figure out where you want to be and how to use the next 12 weeks to make massive movement in that direction. And part of that is learning to say no. It's learning to look at everything that we've done before. And if it doesn't line up with the work that God has called us to do, and that could be anything from saying, I need to be more intentional with my kids, to saying, I need to start prioritizing and creating this inner city ministry that I know I've been called to. And for each one of you, it's going to be different. But it's likely going to come with some change in life where you actually have to change the trajectory of your life. And that comes from looking way down the road to like where the choices that I'm currently making are directing me in this direction. Like where if I keep making these choices, I'm going to end up here. And that's not necessarily bad. But if you know that God has called you to end up here, that means you need to start making those small 1 degree incremental changes today so that you can end up doing the work that He has called you to do specifically. And I just want to like point out that, again, I want to make sure I'm really clear that this isn't necessarily looking at like how do we go from making bad choices to good choices, but it could be going from one good thing to a godly thing. Like I don't even want to say it that way. It could be going from a good godly thing to a different godly thing simply because this is the one that God has called you to. And so I don't want to say that volunteering is bad. Okay, if God has called you to volunteer, you volunteer. He might be calling someone else to fill your position while He's calling you over here to do that inner city ministry work. And honestly, being busy is far more comfortable than doing the uncomfortable work that your kingdom work requires. Because you know, even if you don't like how exhausted you are with how busy you are with how much you are just kind of doing all those things that you don't want to be doing, and yet that is easier to do because it's what you've known, right? Like you know the rules to play by within the bubble or the comfort zone that you have lived for a very long time. Like you know how to, if you're that volunteer person, you know how to say yes to everything and every request that comes your way, even if you kind of know in the back of your mind, I should not be saying yes to this. Like this is going to come at such a high cost. I don't have time for this. I don't have the energy. And yet all I know is to say yes. So then you say yes again. And it's easy to think that it's so easy to feel like God is the one who is not making your kingdom work happen. Kind of like, well, if He wants it to happen, then he will like direct me in or point me in the right direction. He's going to make other people stop asking me to volunteer, and I'm just going to like He'll just open up all the doors. And that's likely not going to happen. That might happen for some people, but I would strongly suggest that you don't assume that's going to happen, and that instead you learn to say no. You learn the solution is you learn to handle empty spaces in your life, to create and handle them well. Because the thing is that oftentimes when we slow down and we have time to think about life, it is extremely uncomfortable, and it's hard to face the regret that we feel over the choices that we've made, or it's hard. We don't know, when we're busy all the time, we don't know how to handle quiet spaces. And so we pick up our phone, or we call someone, or we get busy with something, or we start scrolling the internet so we can find something else to buy. If our habit has been to be busy, then we don't create or allow ourselves to have quiet time in our life. And if you don't have that quiet time, you also lose the opportunity to ask the real life hard questions, like the question of, Jesus, what have you called me to do? Where am I running to busyness where I need to run to you? Where am I filling up my time where I need to learn how to be present with the person that's in front of me, even if that's a 2-month-old baby, or a 2-year-old kid, or a 20-year-old, or an 80-year-old. Teach me how to be present with them and not just rush through those interactions. Where do I need to give my time and attention for this season of my life or for the rest of my life? And again, you have to let yourself be uncomfortable, to create that room, that space to just sit with your, like, step back and look at your life and the choices you've been making, and make intentional choices with how do you want to spend the rest of your days? What has God called you to? And how can you learn to shut down the busyness, even if they are good things? How can you slow those things down and start saying yes to do? Like, this is the thing, that this is your work to do. You have to learn how to say yes and how to prioritize the things that you need to be giving your time to in order for you to do your kingdom work. That is not God's job. He's most likely not going to do that. And so if you get to the end of your life and you have not done your kingdom work, it's not a salvation issue. We're saved through Jesus' death on the cross alone. But it is a very sad thing to know that He called us to something, that He created us for something. We longed to do that our entire life, but we didn't act on it because our life was busy, it was full, we were constantly on the go, and we didn't know how to change it. Because the life you're currently living and the life that you should be living when you're doing your kingdom work, right? It's not like you do nothing. That it's not like I'm trying to think of how to say this. Like, I can totally hear people saying, it's like, well, you still have to care about people, or where it's like it's not like all you can do is just your kingdom work. Your kingdom work might only take 2 hours a week. So I'm not saying to do nothing that a normal life requires, but it's just, how do you learn to slow down enough to recalculate and to start doing your kingdom work, even if that's just 2 hours a week? But how do you successfully start doing that? All right. So my invitation to you is to sit down with a blank piece of paper. And I want you to just ask God to show you about your life. Ask the Holy Spirit to highlight things about your life. Like, what are the things that maybe you've done for a very long time that you are starting to realize, I need to say no to this? Like, something for me personally is I'm really reevaluating crafts and projects, which I love to create. So I love creating things. And yet I know that there has been a very real shift in my life where I have gone from creating crafts or like items that I can hold or decor I can put on the wall to creating YouTube videos. Like, that is where my creativity has been shifting to. And that doesn't mean that I won't ever do crafts, but it is one of those things that I'm really kind of holding these things in my hands and evaluating this right now. And just kind of like, how do I want to handle this, right? How could I handle this in a way that really benefits the people that I'm called to serve through my YouTube channel, as well as how can I handle it so that it serves my family best? And so this is something that other people can't do this for you, right? Like, nobody can come and tell me how I should handle crafts or projects. That is something that I have to go through with God and make choices based on what I can and want to do. And for you, you have to sit with your life, with your choices, with the things that you have done or the things that you have been wanting to do, and you have to make intentional choices, and no one can do that for you. Because, even if someone else can see in your life that it's like, well, just say yes to this thing and no to that thing, and it's just super simple. You have to be the one to learn how to do that. And it starts with giving yourself room to sit and to think and to evaluate and to make the choices that will get you from living the good life that you're living onto, it's not about living a bad life versus a good life. It's, how do I go from just the trajectory that I'm going in right now to getting on page and following Jesus wherever He has called me to do the work that He has called you to do. All right. So lastly, If you want help with that, if you want to take it from a side thought to a kingdom assignment, like if you know what God has called you to do and you want to start treating it like the kingdom assignment that it is, better yet, if you want to take the next 12 weeks and get more done in the next 12 weeks than you have in the last 12 months, or possibly even the last 12 years, then download the Kingdom Calling Clarity Map, and I'm going to help you do just that. All right, lastly, remember to read your Bible, get lost in the story of God, and play your part. And I will talk to you soon.